So welcome all to the Edmonds Storm and Surface Water Management Comprehensive Plan Update Workshop. We're really excited to have you all here today. As I mentioned, it's in the chat. We're asking folks to fill out a 5-question poll. This, like I said, is a federal requirement to understand the demographics of today's audience. So Rebecca can maybe post that link again so it's at the bottom there, but please fill it out. It'll be open throughout the meeting today. All right, so we're gonna kick off today with some welcome and introductions. We'll go over some best practices, some ground rules. We'll introduce the project team, go over the agenda and goals for today, and then have a little icebreaker with you all as well, a little activity. So best practices, recognizing everyone's coming from different parts of their day, but if you can join from a computer to connect to Zoom, that would be great. It will help us interact with you better and allow you to see the presentation better as well. We're asking folks to use the chat function to submit questions and comments and/or requests to speak to the group. You can use a headset or take a call from a quiet space if possible to reduce background noise and echo, but recognizing that might not be possible for you, totally fine. We're just asking folks to keep your phone or headset muted unless you're speaking to the group, which we will have some opportunities to have discussion. So during the discussion portion of the agenda, that will be important to keep yourself muted when you're not speaking. And again, just want to thank you all for joining us. We have a couple ground rules as well. Just we want to make sure the discussion is respectful. So please listen when others are speaking, and we'll keep one person speaking at a time and really be constructive with our feedback on the discussion topic as well. And certainly please ask for clarification or post your questions in the chat as we move on through this presentation. Recognizing we're remote, this is an online meeting. If you run into any IT issues, we do have IT support on call. This is his contact information, but you can also post in chat if you're having any audio issues or you're not able to do that. Please reach out. I'll post my number in the chat as well as Brent.
I can go ahead and put that in there now, Nicole, while you're speaking.
Thank you. All right, so now that we got over some of that intro talk, I wanted to introduce the project team. I'll start with myself. My name is Nicole Gutierrez. I'm an associate with Cascadia Consulting Group. I've provided communication support on this project and will serve as the facilitator today. And I'll hand it off to Rebecca, and then Jerry can go.
Great. My name is Rebecca Dugopolsky. I'm an engineer with Herrera Environmental Consultants, and I've been working with the city off and on probably the past 10 years or so on various projects. So excited to be here today to talk to you about the storm and surface water comp plan that we're working on. And I'll pass things over to Jerry to introduce himself.
Yes, thanks, Rebecca. I'm Jerry Schuster. I'm the stormwater engineer with the city of Edmonds and also the project manager on this storm and surface water plan update. I'm also joined by 2 other city employees who are on the team here. There's Mike DeLila and Pat Johnson, and I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with Mike.
Hi, my name is Mike DeLila. I am the senior utilities engineer for the city, so I deal with pipe capital projects for the city, and I am the backup for Jerry on this project.
I am Patrick Johnson. I am the city's stormwater technician, and I'm here assisting Jerry on the project and hopefully answering any questions you might have.
And I also wanted to mention that we also have Olivia Wright with Herrera today. That's also part of the project team, and she'll be helping us out today as well. Olivia, did you want to say a brief couple words?
Sure, yeah. I'm Olivia Wright. I'm an engineer with Herrera, and I'm supporting the plan update, and I'll be taking notes documenting our the feedback we received today.
Thanks all. And we'll go back to you, Jerry, for opening remarks.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. First, I want to welcome you to our workshop and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us. Today, we'll be presenting the information on the process we are going through to update the Storm and Surface Water Comprehensive Plan, but mostly we want to hear from you on how to shape this plan. While we have some actions that are must-dos, these are things we have to include in the plan. There are also some areas we have some discretion on where we want to use our limited resources, and this is where we want your input. This workshop and the initial survey, which is currently housed on our project webpage, will tell you more about that later. The workshop and the survey are the two ways you can provide us input on this plan at this time. With that, I'll turn it back over to Nicole.
Thanks, Jerry. All right, so a quick overview of the agenda. We're taking time right now to do welcome introductions. There will be a presentation led by Rebecca on the Storm and Surface Water Management Comprehensive Plan, giving an overview of that plan and the update process. And then the bulk of the meeting will really be a discussion with you all to review and gather feedback on the proposed plan, goals, projects, and programs. And we'll close out with next steps and adjourn, and we'll be prompt because we know you're all very busy. What that looks like with what the goals are for today is we'll learn about the Edmonds Stormwater and Surface Water Comprehensive Plan and the update process, discuss and gather feedback on proposed goals, projects, and programs, and review opportunities, additional opportunities for providing feedback. And this is a little warm-up exercise. Many of you might be very familiar with Zoom, but just wanted to provide a little snapshot here. So we are asking folks to leave your audio muted when you're not speaking and your video off just for bandwidth issues. For adding questions or points throughout the presentation, we strongly encourage that. Please use the chat box feature. And you can also give nonverbal feedback by using the reactions. And if you want to speak to provide your input during the course of this workshop, you can raise your hand as well. But we'll be monitoring the chat and make sure that any of the questions you have are addressed. And with that, to get a sense of where everyone is in their understanding of this topic, we're asking, here's our question for you all. When you think of surface water and stormwater in Edmonds, what comes to mind? Feel free to put that in chat. We also, I think, have a small enough group that if you felt like unmuting, you could share your thoughts verbally as well. But I'll give a minute here and I'll monitor chat and read it out as things come in. And just to, if you're like, ooh, I really don't know how to answer that. Stormwater really refers to precipitation that meets hard surfaces. The stormwater system is something that conveys that. So when we think about pipes and ditches, and then surface water is where that stormwater ends up. So this can be marine waters, fresh water, anything like that. Yeah, we have rain. It's been quite rainy in Edmonds, I have to say. Yeah, and when we think of rain, we've probably been seeing a lot of just it flowing down roads and other impermeable surfaces Thanks, Kathleen, and thanks, Mary. Seasonal storm events. That's great. Existing city system, backyard creeks, water flows into the Salish Sea, overdeveloped areas. So I think that aligns with that impermeable surface comment too. Climate change and the need to plan for the future. Great comment. Anything else that hasn't been said yet? Aging infrastructure. Thanks, Mary. Great. Keep those ideas coming because we'll certainly kind of come back to that, and this is really what we're talking about today. So with that, really appreciate everyone responding, and I'm gonna hand it off to Rebecca. Rebecca to present an overview.
Great, sounds good. Thank you, Nicole. So I wanted to start off today by talking about what is the Storm and Surface Water Management Comprehensive Plan. I won't be saying that whole phrase every time I talk about this, so I may just say SCP or plan, but that's really what we're talking about today. So what does the plan or the SCP contain? So the plan has multiple purposes. It includes setting the direction for managing storm and surface waters within the city. It outlines an operation and maintenance plan and needs for the city's stormwater system. It provides a replacement schedule for pipes, catch basins, and other assets owned by the city. So that's part of asset management. It describes how the city is meeting the requirements of the Department of Ecology municipal stormwater permit that allows the city to discharge stormwater into local streams in Puget Sound and identifies where the gaps are and where improvements are needed. The current municipal stormwater permit is scheduled to expire in mid-2024, and it will be replaced by a new permit with new and updated requirements that will run through 2029. It also provides a schedule for larger capital projects that upgrade and improve the city's stormwater system through a capital improvement plan. Provides outline for a financial plan with a description of how the city will pay for everything that's included in the plan. And last but not least, it's an equity plan. It's intended to serve the entire city population, not just a specific watershed. So the city's comprehensive plan is currently being updated by the planning department, and the city's comprehensive plan covers the operation of the entire city and has 8 different elements. The storm and surface water plan is tucked in under the utilities element of the city comprehensive plan, and you can see where it sits in the slide here. So there's that drop-down list under utilities. So it's one element of the utilities element within the larger citywide comprehensive plan, which is currently scheduled to be updated by the end of 2024. So the goals that we identify in the stormwater comprehensive plan will be incorporated into the update of the overall city comprehensive plan. Here's just a brief view of the timeline, and we'll be touching on this again later at the end of the presentation today. We kicked things off back in July of this year, and Jerry presented to council just early on, letting them know what the process was and where we're headed throughout this project. We just started the public outreach portion with this workshops today. We've got one session today at noon and then another this evening as well. So if there's others you think may be interested, feel free to pass that information along to them. We also have the public webpage and the public survey open for input through mid-November. And we have a community event coming up, which will be the Edmonds Holiday Market on Saturday, November 4th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then there'll be another presentation to council this year as well with information about what we received through the public input portion of the process. And then next year we'll be shifting into actually developing the plan, and then after that into implementation. So there'll be additional opportunities for public involvement as we move throughout the plan process next year. So why do we need to update the stormwater and surface water comprehensive plan? The existing plan, which I actually worked on back in 2009, 2010, was adopted in 2010. As I mentioned, there's a new Department of Ecology stormwater permit coming up in mid-2024, and it's got new and updated requirements that the city needs to plan for. Our climate is changing. One of those comments we saw popped up was climate change. So we need to adapt to that and make sure that stormwater management is meeting those changing conditions. There's also growth happening within the city, and we want to make sure that that runoff is managed. And then stakeholder input and changing attitudes as well. We want to make sure that we reflect the viewpoints of multiple stakeholders within the plan as well. So a variety of different reasons, but a good time to update the plan with the new permit requirements and a need for a new plan since it's been a while since the last plan was adopted. So what goals, projects, and programs will the Storm and Surface Water Comprehensive Plan include? This slide, which you may also recognize this graphic from the project webpage if you've taken a look at that as well, includes the basic building blocks of the Storm and Surface Water Comprehensive Plan. And we'll walk through each of the building blocks in more detail on the following slides, but just wanted to touch on kind of the main components of the plan here. At the top, we've got flood mitigation and environmental compliance. Underneath that, we've got asset management, stormwater retrofit capital projects, and stream habitat improvements. And then on the bottom, everything is supported by the stormwater utility and other funding sources. So stepping through each of these building blocks, the first one I wanted to touch on is the flood mitigation building block. The primary goal here is to reduce flooding for a safe and healthy community. This is a standard component of stormwater management programs and making sure that we keep streets dry so people can go to work, school, and about their business, and keep stormwater away from homes and businesses. The next building block that we have is environmental compliance. The primary goal here is to comply with all applicable regulatory requirements. And this is also a standard component of a stormwater management program. For this section of the plan, we'll primarily be evaluating the city's needs for complying with the Department of Ecology municipal stormwater permit. And as I mentioned, the new permit is coming up in the 2024 to 2029 permit as well. The next building block that we have is asset management. This was another thing that popped up in the chat in terms of what we were asking about today related to aging infrastructure. And the primary goal for the asset management building block is to replace, protect, and maintain stormwater infrastructure. And so this is becoming more common with stormwater management as infrastructure such as pipes and catch basins are aging, and the city needs to have a plan and funding in place to help identify priorities and replace aging stormwater infrastructure. And the last two building blocks I ended up putting on the same slide together. They both have a similar goal, and the goals are tied together. So the primary goal here is reducing the impact of stormwater runoff on aquatic habitat through retrofit projects prioritized by watershed that address flow control and water quality improvement. So I wanted to step through what those different elements are. So we have high flows and poor water quality during storm events that can lead to degradation of stream habitat conditions. And stormwater retrofit projects are one way to help improve existing stormwater facilities and construct new facilities to help better manage those stormwater flows and improve water quality. And we'll be providing some examples of these types of projects on the next two slides. So the first slide we have here are the types of stormwater retrofit capital projects. And wanted to mention in the public survey that's currently posted on the project webpage, and we'll be sharing that link at the end of the workshop today. We're asking for your help with ranking the following types of projects. They're not listed here in any priority order, just the order we put them on the slide here, but wanted to step through what each of these are. So as you're filling out that survey, you'll have a better understanding of what types of things that we're asking about here. So the first bullet focuses on retrofitting or expanding existing stormwater facilities. This could be ponds or rain gardens and modifications of those facilities to collect and or treat additional stormwater runoff. The second bullet involves installing rain gardens, typically in residential neighborhoods, but also in commercial areas to capture and treat stormwater runoff. The third bullet, regional facilities, focuses on construction of a larger stormwater facility. Typically that's a pond or constructed wetland that can handle stormwater runoff from a large area. And the last bullet on here is stormwater parks. I'm not sure if you've heard of that term before, but it's similar to a regional facility in that it collects runoff from a large area, but also integrates recreational opportunities such as trails, open space, or community gardens. So also wanted on this slide just to sit here for a minute and ask if there's any other types of stormwater retrofit projects that you can think of that the city should consider, or any clarifying questions related to this topic. So please type those in the chat if you have any questions related to stormwater retrofits. Yep, I see a question or a comment here about infiltration galleries. So wanted to mention here that the city has already completed some retrofit projects. So there's been infiltration projects in the Seaview Park to help with Parentville Creek. So that's one that we would include here as well. That could be a larger facility or retrofitting or expanding existing stormwater facilities. So it kind of fits in that first and third bullet. But definitely there's some great areas of the city for infiltration. So we don't want to overlook that. Great. Yeah, well, feel free to type in additional comments as we go along, but we'll shift on to the next slide. Looking at stream habitat improvements. So again, the public survey, this is another area where we're asking the public to weigh in on different types of stream habitat improvement projects that the city could potentially offer. So again, these aren't listed in any priority order. But wanted to point out the first two bullets on here, providing technical assistance to streamside landowners and removing invasive species and planting additional native vegetation. Both of these are already implemented in the city, but we wanted to know if you'd like to see more resources directed towards those types of projects. The third bullet looks at public-private partnerships. So those could be used to help improve stream conditions on private property. So completing projects that have a public benefit. The fourth bullet looks at coordination with flood mitigation or stormwater retrofit projects to control flows in the watershed prior to making in-stream or streamside improvements. And the final bullet on here is looking at fish passage barriers that have been identified in the city and making improvements to allow upstream access to fish. So we'll pause here as well and ask if there's any other types of stream habitat improvements that you would like to see included on this list or any clarifying questions you have related to this topic.
There was a comment from Kathleen about supporting property owners to create rain gardens.
Yeah, so that's one that kind of overlaps with both the last slide where we looked at installing rain gardens, but with that having some sort of funding for private property owners as well. So definitely that would fit on a type of stormwater retrofit capital project, but would also provide benefit for stream habitat as well. Great, sounds good. Well, we'll have more opportunities for public input as we go throughout the day here. Oh, I see one popped up here. Removing existing barriers to salmon passage. Yep, that definitely comes in with that last one there, not just undersized culvert, but other barriers as well. So we could broaden that one. Great, thank you, everyone. And then the last slide in this section I wanted to focus on is the stormwater utility and other funding. So last but certainly not least, all the building blocks that we talked about are supported by funding from the Stormwater Utility Fund and grants. The primary goal here is to make sure that we have adequate funding to meet all of the goals in an equitable and cost-efficient manner. So that really provides the foundation to completing those flow control and water quality improvement projects, helping the city meet the requirements of the municipal stormwater permit, and ensuring that stormwater infrastructure is operational. So with that, I'll pass things back to Nicole for our Q&A portion and discussion.
Thanks, Rebecca, and thanks for that presentation, and to all who contributed initial thoughts and ideas on some of those things you listed related to goals. So in this Q&A portion, we want to pause here and just ask if you have any questions on the content that we've covered thus far, and that could be on the project background and overview, project schedule, or anything else Rebecca presented on. And feel free to use chat, but we can also you can also unmute. And if there are multiple people who want to present, maybe raise your hand, and you do that by clicking reactions, and there's a raise hand feature. But we are getting some questions in chat, so I will read those off, and then Rebecca and Jerry and other people on the project team can come in. So where is the public survey?
Yep, we will be sharing the link at the end of the workshop. I wanted to make sure folks weren't jumping ahead and starting to fill that out during the workshop. So we will go ahead and share that with everyone at the end of the workshop today. So if you want, and if you've got time right after this workshop, you can go ahead and fill that out or keep it for later. It's open through November 17th.
Does Edmonds receive stormwater from any nearby municipalities? And a follow-up, does this represent a management complexity?
This is Jerry. I can start with that one, and then maybe Mike can help me out. Probably the biggest complexity is in the Perrineville Creek watershed, where I think over half of the watershed is in Linwood, and it comes into Edmonds. And Mike, aren't we working on an agreement with them right now?
We are working on an agreement to do a study to improve the previous study that we did back in 2015 for flow reduction. So we're trying to bring down the peak stormwater flow, since Perrineville is an urban watershed. So there's a lot of impervious surface area. So we're trying to get it so that it behaves more like a stream would be in a less urbanized location. So yes, we are working on a local agreement to try and find ways to help decrease the high flows. And right now we're in the early phases for that, but both Linwood and Edmonds have been working on that old plan. So we have been definitely decreasing the peak flows. But again, for this kind of project, it took many decades to get to, unfortunately, the point that we're at. So we're trying to work on mitigating all those flows. Do you want to speak about any of the other basins that we share as well?
Yeah, I can speak. I believe we receive a little bit of water from shoreline, but it's pretty negligible. And I don't believe we collect any from Mount Lake Terrace. So
no, yeah, because
No.
of Lake Ballinger.
Yep,
I mean,
yep.
so yep.
Okay.
Great. So it sounds like it does add some complexity there. Great. Thanks for that question, Tim. That was very interesting to hear from Jerry and Mike. Another question, what climate time period will be used for making design decisions? Designing for 2050, 2100?
Yeah, 2100. I'll take that one. I mean, right now, we haven't answered that question. As you know, the climate change impacts on stormwater management is a regional issue. It's not just an Edmonds issue. And we are working with, or will be working with, the Department of Ecology, Snohomish County, and I know King County is doing some work right now on trying to answer that question. We as Edmonds can't answer that question ourselves. It's a pretty large and regionally complex question, but we are aware that that question needs to be answered, and we will be looking to Department of Ecology, Snohomish County, and King County to help guide our efforts on that.
Thanks, Jerry. Another question. In what ways does the Shoreline Railroad right-of-way complicate Edmonds stormwater management?
I think I can handle that one, especially because of Perrineville. So the railroad right-of-way does definitely add a lot of complexity, because all of that area, even though it may be within the city of Edmonds, falls within the jurisdiction with Burlington Northern Railroad. We are in discussions with them, and also the tribes are in discussion with them to try and do retrofit projects to try and get it so that those pipes that are currently fish barriers are replaced with something that would not be a barrier, and also to be able to handle flows that currently are much greater than what they were back in the day when these culverts were actually placed. So it kind of speaks back to also, the overall design plan. Um, we can't see into the future exactly how stormwater is going to behave. It's all going back to what Jerry was saying, is that the state and everybody else needs to look at this and try and update things as we are able to understand better climate change and all these other factors. But as far as being able to influence the railroad, we can recommend, and they are listening. So they are trying to see what they can do to do the replacements. But that really does, in the end, unfortunately, is up to them to be able to do. We can only recommend and do our best to try and get them to understand that this is something that is definitely needed to be addressed.
Thanks, Mike. Any other questions? I think I'll also take this opportunity to just plug in the demographics poll one more time. So I'm going to post that into the chat. If you haven't had the opportunity to complete it yet, please do. It'll take you to a form where it asks you 5 questions. But
Cool. I just wanted to make sure that Kathleen and others saw the response to the community event comment. So the community event will be the Edmonds Holiday Market, and that'll be on Saturday, November 4th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So the city will have a booth there, and you'll have an opportunity to provide feedback there in terms of, we'll have a large map that you can mark locations on where you've observed flooding or other issues, and speak with representatives as well about the project.
Thanks, Rebecca. All right, well, if any other questions come up, we are happy to answer them in the chat at any time, or they might come up during our discussion, which we can transition to. So what's next? And again, thanks everyone for working in Jamboard. That might have been a new program for some of you, so really appreciate the effort there, and appreciate the discussion that we just had. So what's next? As a reminder of the timeline, we're holding public workshops today, one this afternoon, one this evening from 6 to 7. We have a public survey live, and Rebecca will share that link in the chat right now. We have the community event on November 4th, and those details are also in chat. And there will be another presentation to City Council. Moving on to 2024, that's when the Storm and Surface Water Comprehensive Plan will be prepared, the draft of that, and there will be additional opportunities for public input at that point. Please visit the project page. I think that's actually the link Rebecca will put in the chat. So this houses the relevant documents and overview. It will include this workshop slides and the presentation recording as well. And it links to the public survey. So you'll see that when you log on. You can fill out the survey before it's open until November 17th. So it's an opportunity for you to provide additional input on the proposed plan actions and add areas for consideration for potential stormwater projects. So there's this interactive map that you'll be able to interact with. And do you have anything you want to add on that, Rebecca?
Nope, just wanted to share that, yeah, it should be fairly intuitive as you walk through the survey, but if you have any questions, if you get to the bottom of the survey, there is a project email there, and also at the bottom of the project webpage, there's also an email address, which we'll be sharing in a couple minutes as well. So just wanted to point out to folks that if you have any issues with the survey, or you do need it in a different language, please reach out to the project team and we'll connect you with those resources.
Yeah, and we want to hear from as many community members as possible. So share the link with your friends, family, neighbors. We'd love to make sure we hear from as many people as possible. So thank you all for taking time out of your day to participate in this workshop. We really appreciate it. And this is the contact information that Rebecca just mentioned. So it's sswcp@edmondswa.gov if you have any questions about the plan update or anything related to what we went over with today.